Okay, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Today is March 24th, and this is another of our 6 CLI bi-weekly calls. My name is Maciej, and I'll be your host today. So our agenda is pretty packed. So let's go through it. There's one important link that I forgot to add to the announcement, but I'll let Eddie talk, and I'll let Nick talk about CUI, and in the meantime, I'll pull the right link.
Well, so following up on our brainstorm and conversation from last week about 2 weeks ago about mentoring and bringing in new folks from underrepresented backgrounds, I started working with the SIG CLI sub-project for mentoring, and they're working on a virtual, online, recorded, written new contributor workshop that they need help with. So if anyone wants to get involved and help out with that, there's a project board there, and the meeting is on Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, I believe. So feel free to hit me up if you want to help, but yeah, they've put out a call for help to get some of this content written up and recorded. So I think there's value in us nurturing and mentoring some more folks.
Okay. Nick, you want to talk about the CUI movement?
Removed. So yeah, the link's there. Thanks everyone for the help. I know it took a while, a lot of dots to cross and T's to dot. Whatever. We're there. I think there's a couple of things still to do to sort of finalize. So we might make a Slack team channel for CUI. That may make sense to have a place to discuss issues and suggestions. So we'll get around to that pretty soon. Other thing also is that if you go to the wiki currently and try to read the developer docs, you'll probably find they're a bit out of date, so we need to refreshen those. So we'll be working on that over the next week or so. But yeah,
awesome. Congrats. That is that's very awesome news. I remember that when we started those discussions, it was I don't know, like maybe even 2 years ago. So that's an excitement development.
Yeah, I figured I would postpone it a bit just to give us time to robustify the code base and get more experience with it. Also, pretty solid code base now, so good to go.
Great. And the last link that I pulled in the meantime, we have our 6 CLI annual report ready for review. I'll be very happy if you get it spend a couple minutes reading through. If you think that there's something missing in that report, feel free to comment. I'll be addressing those this or next week, and that's, if I remember correctly, we have to close them by the end of month or something along those lines. I need to double check the dates.
One thing, just sorry to interrupt again, I forgot to mention Meng Ting, who's been a very valuable contributor to the project, is with us today, so just wanted to give her the shout out.
Okay, well, that brings us nicely to the introduction section. So I'll probably let him speak, since I'm guessing he's first time in 6 CLI calls. Take it away from here. I'm not sure if Meng think you were trying to say something. I barely heard you talking. I mean, if you're new to the call, just introduce yourself, where you're coming, what are your expectations. I think Nick threw you a little bit under the bus. So I just use your name to start off with the introductions.
Hi, I'm Ravi. I'm new to this call. I work out of India, Bangalore, and I've been using Kubernetes in our company, and I'm working in one of the Kubernetes platform teams in India. So I wanted to see how I could contribute into the core Kubernetes CLI. Yeah, as part of that, I was exploring and got some links over the Slack channels and landed up here first time. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Welcome to the team. Is there anyone else new that want to introduce themselves? Oh, Mentings wrote that his audio has problems. Okay, no worries. You want to give it a try? Another one? I wonder if we should treat Dims as a newcomer because he wasn't here in a very long time and we should force him to introduce himself. Dims, want to give it a shot?
Wow, you're putting me on the spot here, Mache.
Of course.
Hi, everybody. My nickname is Dims. I show up in different meetings sometimes just to get a feel of how things are going on and get a sense of how the progress is made, I guess, in the SIGs. I don't have anything specific to talk about today. I definitely was interested in the topic that Eddie was talking about mentoring and things like that. So kudos to that. Thanks for getting that rolling. And if you need any help, please reach out. Thanks a lot.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Dims. Do we have anyone else new on the call? I think I recall most of the names, but maybe I missed someone. If you want to speak up, now's your chance. Okay, I'm hearing none, so let's move on to the main topics. Eddie, take it away.
So if folks don't know, Lori Apple is just amazing and awesome. She kind of runs like PM for a bunch of SIGs and helps out. And she's been coaching and nurturing me. And one of the things that she suggested is that we need to try and leverage KEPs better in terms of like road mapping out what our release is going to look like. And it has one of the benefits of being able to divide up the work into teams. And so folks that have been unsure and kind of reactionary, especially like myself, have been very reactionary to all the inbound issues and PRs that we get. But this will let us kind of like take the reins and control the narrative there. And so Lori is going to be able to join us for a future meeting. I don't think she was able to join us today. But things like our Cobra command separation, Sean, that we've been wanting to do, separating kube control commands from Cobra, like that's something that we should drive via KEP and then scope out and document the work. And Lori said that we will be surprised at the people that basically show up and will do the well-defined work for us. So it's a benefit there.
I mean, we did something similar, and if I remember correctly, Doug and a couple other folks were driving the effort of create commands, and it was a perfect example how this can roll. And we got lots of contributors helping with that, but I'm totally in support of doing that if we can have because the Cobra command stuff, once we have the one command ready, it is easy for newcomers even to pick it up and continue with the work, and we will be just focusing on actually approving the code. So yeah.
So the question I have for this specific example as a KEP is that we're basically doing a refactor with removing this Cobra command stuff from the options. And KEPs, as is in the name, is an enhancement. So they seem like they're in two totally different lanes. I could see how I guess I could see how you might want a refactor as a KEP, but they kind of seem like, in general, two completely different spheres.
So
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was rather thinking, because here's the thing. We laid out several rules what a kubectl command should look like over the past 2-3 years. A lot of the commands went through the transformation up to a certain point. For example, the complete, validate, run. I'm pretty sure the majority of people is already familiar by now. We could probably create a cap not as a targeted for this particular thing, but rather as a documentation, what a proper kubectl command could look like, and then divide the work into what this is the ideal work we want to be in. We're not there, and slowly moving towards that direction. That's that would be my take onto it.
Yeah, and I'm sure Dims can also give us a better explanation of the keps for that too. Lori was telling me basically anything that makes Kubernetes better or changes things we could do through a kep. It's a tool that we can use and leverage to organize. Just like the migration with Kustomize, right? Like that was a big, massive change that we didn't have a kep for that we definitely should have. And the release team has been very confused about, such a big change getting in without a kep. So I've been dealing with that behind the scenes. But yeah, I think we could make a kep for everything, right? Like there's definitely some changes we do that are pretty small scoped, but I don't think anything is like out of scope for sure.
So I mean, there's a non-zero cost by doing it with a kep, right? I mean, it's added bureaucracy. And so there should be a benefit to this added cost. And so, yeah, I'd be slightly hesitant to like throw everything in a kep just because, that's actually going to slow us. Yeah, it's going to be pretty bureaucratic. I think that every kep, there should be a benefit to that added bureaucratic cost. And so I, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure I see that with the Cobra command refactor.
I think we can delete a lot of the kep body. Like I agree, if you were to fill out like the rollback strategy for this, refactoring of code, like it's nonsensical, right? But the what is the motivation for doing this? Like you could put like 2 sentences in there, and then like what are the steps? Like it's if you just want a way of documenting here's a body of work that's going to be done and why. It seems like a reasonable approach.
Hi, I just wanted to add one observation here, which is when you need some cooperation with other SIGs on how to proceed with certain things. For example, I don't know if we have decided or designed how exactly kubectl will ship once it lives out of tree, right? So that's a good thing that we could write down how that's going to be done between SIG release and SIG CLI. So then it's easier for both teams to figure out when to schedule some work and when we'll need hands on deck to add CI jobs or whatever, move things out. So things like that for sure, I think would be good candidates to start as a kep.
Okay, so do we have it's something that's going to show up in a release that needs a kep, it's something that requires inter-SIG collaboration that needs a kep, or it's something that we're looking for additional contributors that will need some documentation about what are we even doing here? How do I get involved? What's this supposed to look like? Those are 3 reasons why we need it.
Yeah, we can start there. And if you see the value in it, then we can do more, I guess.
I could probably add one another, which would be if we want to document, I don't know, certain way of doing things. Let's say what a proper kubectl command looks like, then that serves both as a direction and as a documentation, because oftentimes we're getting those questions and we ended up repeating ourselves over and over again instead of, oh, this is there's a kep which describes what a command looks like.
Maciej, we can. So there is space in Kubernetes community and to write down SIG specific things too, right? SIG architecture has a bunch of things there. So that's another place if you're worried about like how many approvals do we need, like other people to approve and like other people to take a look. So, if you want to avoid that, then the community is a good space to document this kind of a thing, which is, you just need a LGTM approve from a couple of people, and you are like updating some documentation, which will help out newcomers, right? So that kind of thing. So one example that we are doing right now is like we are trying to, from SIG architecture, we are writing down like featuregates.go, what are the fields in there and how are they going to be used? When you go from alpha to beta, what happens? So we are trying to write that down. So we are using that space for it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then so 2 quick things. So I just dropped 2 links into the chat. So one of the struggles that I had coming into the project was all of the historical decisions that were made that were just not documented or shared anywhere. And so, there's this idea of like an ADR, an architectural design record. And that's how I view like a lot of the things that we can do via KEPs as well, to kind of leave like a trail of breadcrumbs for people. Yeah, I'm not saying these need to be like massive things, and we definitely don't need to do them for every single change we make, but I think that there's value, especially for future people, in terms of like being able to get up to speed and see where things happened. And so I'm saying that we give it a try, because Lori seems to think it will help us a lot, and Lori's really smart. The other link I dropped in is this was something that Tim shared in one of the SIG leads meetings. And especially for the folks who are further up the contributor ladder right now, like the approvers and the other leads, the TLDR of this is, if you have a quadrant with level of effort and impact on the axes, and you have your high effort, high impact, low effort, low impact. That low effort, low impact is, we call that snacking, because that's like some easy, tasks that you can do that need to get done, but like someone else could do them usually. But the high effort, high impact is some of the things that only some of the folks that are, higher up the ladder can really drive and put some thought into, like road mapping there. And so, if we all snack too much, we're going to starve, basically, right? That's the idea behind it. So it's a really good read. It's helped me try to figure out how to like prioritize things. So give it a read through.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Eddie, with that one. I'm pretty sure that we will return to the topic once Lori is present on the call, maybe in 2 weeks, let's say. The second topic, a particular review for Move Bash completion to go.
Yeah, so this has been open for a hot minute. Mark has worked on this. I don't think Mark's able to join us today, but we basically, if we can get some folks to dive in, give this some review and test it, it'll help out a ton. Mark put a ton of work into this, and it's kind of been slipping for every release. So just putting out a big call that we definitely need to go through this. So please help. And even if you're not a reviewer, just feel free to clone it down, test it, see if it works, and find any bugs in it.
Yeah, I think it's in my queue for this one. Definitely.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Doug. And next one is again, Eddie, renaming default branches.
I just wanted to call this out. Because kubectl is in a staging repo, we're not able to jump on the migration path early. So it probably will happen towards more the end of the year. But Mr. Bobby Tables has been pushing and talking about this. So we are looking into figuring out how to rename the kubectl repos branches, but we have to wait for staging to be sorted out. So.
Yeah, I'm guessing that we will most likely be up with the rename along the main Kubernetes repo, which, if I remember correctly, is slated for December this year, somewhere towards the end of this year. That's the target goal for the main repo, and I assume that might be the case for the staging repos as well. Okay.
What about our other repos?
Other repos are free to pick up the rename as soon as they're ready. If I remember correctly, the process is reach out to Bobby, and he will be able to help with that one. I'm pretty sure that the link that Eddie put together has all the necessary links and contact details, how to proceed with that. So if you're not directly connected with the main repo, either through staging or being part of the main repo, you're free to move. I think we've changed already some of the repos because my scripts broke a couple of weeks back. So it's definitely possible already. So if your Kubernetes SIG repo, there's nothing stopping you from literally doing this right away. Okay.
All right.
Phil.
All right, I've already communicated this to like a number of folks, but I just want to communicate a little more widely that I've been having Katrina do a lot of stuff for me. She's been stepping into more of a leadership position, and I've been redirecting people to her. So if there's something you need help with, just reach out to Katrina directly, and then like if it actually needs my attention, she'll reach out to me.
Yeah, happy
Okay.
to help. Please feel free to reach out on Slack or in GitHub about anything.
Thanks.
Awesome. Okay, so we have lots of time for stand-ups. Do we have from, I guess, do you want to add something more to the picture? Okay, I see Nick passing on this one. Jeff, you want to talk about where we are with Customize and the big success to upgrade the Customize in kubectl?
There's no news. I mean, not since the PR was merged. Just looking forward to seeing it get distributed, seeing people use it. I don't expect any surprises, but of course that's when you get surprised, when you don't expect surprises. But people have been using the code for a long time, just not in the context of kubectl. So it's not like it hasn't been tried. I see something on the agenda for next meeting about making plugins non-alpha, which is a good thing. That's fine. We can do that.
Okay, great.
That's all I have.
Jeff,
Cool.
do we need to do any sort of documentation work for people upgrading for kube control?
Would you like to? What do you have in mind for that? There's documentation on there's lots of documentation on the on the customized site. And there's online help that is integrated into, that was part of the PR. So there's the commands, the build command in kubectl has online help. So certainly I'd love to see more documentation, but do you have anything specific in mind?
Yeah, I'm more asking about do we have the breaking changes documented for people who are going to get kube control upgraded from their package manager under them and things aren't going to work?
Like, what do you think is not going to work?
Well, we jumped 2 major versions from what was shipping and kube control was customized. So I don't know if there's
Yeah, that's because we that has to do with the go-getter, the HashiCorp code, and the way it worked is actually by jumping 2 versions, you're back to where we were in the initial version of kubectl. So there was no, in the initial version of kubectl, Customized did not use the HashiCorp go-getter, and then Customized in the wild standalone did. And to get it back into kubectl, we had to take it out again. So hence
Gotcha.
the two jumps. But everything
Okay.
else should work. There aren't any breaking changes that I'm aware of.
Awesome.
Is that true of the flags as well? I know we got some reports about the underscores to the
Yeah,
dashes.
that's what you're right. There is what that doesn't break kubectl, that breaks Customized, the people that were using underscores instead of hyphens. So what we're going to do in Customize is add double up in the flags, I guess, to include underscores. So kubectl uses hyphens.
Okay, so not a problem for the users.
Not a problem for kubectl, no. It is a
the
problem to
fix,
customize though.
is the fix command relevant here? Or is that for other situations?
There is no fixed command in kubectl.
For
So what-
customize though. Does that fix things between these major version differences that we're talking about? Or is that something else? Sorry.
It's not applicable. It's not applicable here. No, it does
Okay.
what you just said. It does upgrade fields. So for example, we're introducing a new labels field in standalone customize, but that's not a factor for kubectl as it stands right now. It will become a factor down the road if we deprecate. So fix is meant to deal with hard deprecations. Right now, we are not deprecating any fields. We're not removing fields. We had one field removed that I added back in. What fix does is it helps people migrate from old fields to newer fields that have more power or easier expression of features that you want to use. And fix just does that migration for you. It reads the customization filing, modifies it, writes it back out again. Yeah, so that's not necessary, or that doesn't apply to kubectl right now.
I actually had a question, a user experience question about managed fields. Right now, on most consoles, they have kind of a YAML tab where they present the raw dump of the resource description. What should we do with the managed fields in that kind of context? Should we never show them, always show them, have a flag to show them, put them in a separate tab? Like, what's the policy we have around managed fields from a UX perspective?
There is no policy. There's a big discussion around the topic of managed fields. What we ended up doing in kubectl is we have a flag which hides the managed fields by default, and you can opt into showing them, but it hides them by default.
Nice.
But the server will always send them. And we have, if I remember correctly, there's a cap open, and there is a lengthy discussion between us and the SIG API machinery about the use cases where we want to hide them. There's a lot of people complaining in the cap and in the issue as well that the addition of managed fields doubled their traffic.
Interesting.
In controllers, for example, which most likely not necessarily care about the managed fields.
Yeah,
So
for jobs, I'm seeing that it's probably even more than double.
Yeah, in the interim, what we did is I can't remember whether that was previous or one of the past releases, we hid the managed fields in the edit command. And currently we do that by default for every single kubectl command. And there's a flag that allows you to show them, but you need to explicitly says that, yes, I want to see them. It will be retrieved.
Sorry, please.
It will be retrieved from the server. So if you go, if you look in with -v9, you'll see them being retrieved from the server, but they are not printed.
Okay, and what version of kubectl added that flag?
121.
Okay.
Like literally this one,
Got
the
it.
current one.
So should we just ride the kubectl behavior in that respect, or should we make some attempt to sort of backport that from a CUI perspective, because we could, to prior versions, because we're disconnected from kubectl?
I'll probably do something similar what kubectl does until we have an official statement from the server side. I'll probably follow what kubectl did by hiding them by default, but still being able to show them either through a separate tab or through, I don't know, show me the managed fields and you will roll them up on top for where they would normally be. I'll probably, Nick, you will know that part of the UX much better than I do, but I would try to mimic the behavior of what kubectl does. It seems reasonable. Backporting, for kubectl, I don't expect backporting. We rarely backport features.
Great.
I'll leave the decision for Koi up to you and the rest of the crew.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Do we have anyone from crew? I see Chris Kim on the call. Do we have any update on the crew side?
No, nothing really to report for crew.
Okay, cool. I guess that will be the last call for any last minute topics.
I had just one quick thing if we have a short minute,
Yeah,
which is, so we implemented KEP 859, which is we're adding extra kubectl command headers in 121 as alpha. And it turns out that the API server, so I implemented a validating webhook, and it turns out that the API server, it appears, is not forwarding these headers to emission webhooks. So it may be that as a team, we may want to ask, I want to get your guys' opinion. Do we want to ask the SIG API machinery if these extra X headers should be forwarded to admission webhooks? Otherwise, we won't be able to make any decisions in the validating or mutating webhooks based on these extra headers. And the use case was if there was an especially dangerous command, maybe you'd want to put a validating webhook to block that command. For instance, kubectl copy. If you know, the SREs at a particular company think kubectl copy is too dangerous, then maybe we would put it in a validating webhook to block it. But unfortunately, as it stands now, it appears we can't make any decisions in admission webhooks because these extra headers, indeed any headers, are not being forwarded to any of the admission webhooks. Does anybody have any opinions on this, whether or not we should interface with SIG API machinery on this?
I'll probably try to dig up the initial documents describing the webhooks and what they said about the headers, whether they had any assumptions about yes, no, they want to forward them. If there's no clear guidelines that yes or no, we want to forward them, I would be open to opening such a discussion, definitely. I would probably frame this as not just this particular one, but rather a broad approach of exposing the headers to the webhooks.
Yeah, I went through the documentation, didn't find anything about headers in webhooks. Of course, it talks about the admission review and the admission response and the format of that, V1 beta 1 versus V1. I didn't see anything on headers, but if anybody finds anything or knows about anything, please point me in that direction. That's all I had. Thanks.
Okay, cool. Any other last minute topics?
I really like the addition of the light piano music to the background of the meeting.
That light piano is my son's having classes.
It's a nice touch.
Thanks. Okay, cool. I think with that happy thought, we can close the call today. Thank you very much, all. See you next week on our blog scrub meeting, and we have another SIG CLI call in 2 weeks. Thank you very much, all. Have a good one. Bye-bye.